folks, I am headed to the property. Kim's going to be, she's on her way as soon as she gets some work clothes on, and I believe one of our good friends, I think she's coming too. We're going to try to get some work done up here today. It is Babylon's Easter day today, and everyone else's Resurrection Day, the day of life, when the death of winter springs out of the ground and brings forth life. But we're heading up here, try to get some work done, and as always, I've got the camera with me, and I will be filming. I've got to come in from the other side of the property, which is where I had activity a few days ago when I came up here and filmed and I did the articles. I'll be going into the property pretty close to that spot, and I'm not looking forward to it, but I'm going to do a little work right there on the 10 acres until Kim and Chrissy and Rosie get here. Once they get here, then I'll start cutting across the new property to get to where we need to go with it. But I'm not going to do it until they're here, because I always get activity when I bring the tractor on the new property and we start work. Stuff always happens. But I will be filming, so if anything happens, hopefully we'll get it caught on camera for you. But I'll see you guys shortly. Happy Resurrection Day, folks. I'm at the property. I've been up here working, and got a little boo-boo with the tractor. I'm going to show you. I was pushing trees over, dead trees. Some of them are probably 13, 14 inches in diameter. They're pretty big trees. And I was pushing one over. There's a dead tree that fell against it, and I didn't see it. A smaller one, about the size of a 1 liter soda bottle. And it popped up, and it hit right here, and as I was pushing, it just shoved in. I mean, it destroyed my grill. All of that's busted, so I've got to get that fixed. Yeah, that's not good. It's not good at all. It broke it. I heard it when it started crunching, but it was too late. I mean, it destroyed all of that. I'm going to try to fix it. I can't afford to replace that right now, so I'm going to try to take it off and see if there's a way I can fix it. But it's, part of running a tractor. They're meant to, put in the woods, put in the rough areas where you don't normally take vehicles. Just like four-wheel drive trucks and ATVs, they're designed for the rough stuff. Which kind of surprises me when these kids buy these $100,000 four-wheel drive pickup trucks and they lower them to the ground and put lights on them and all kind of fancy stuff, but they don't take them off-road. And I caught a stump. That's wood in my rim right there. I got some of it out, but it's not leaking, so hopefully it doesn't leak. Got it there and got it there. But anyhow, I haven't seen nothing, haven't heard nothing, but it started feeling pretty weird. So I come back up to the truck. I did not have the camera on me. I run back up here. I run out of tank of fuel already. So I'm going to go back. I've got some articles. We're going to find somewhere that doesn't feel too awful bad. I got a couple trees got to take down on the road. I'm going to bring you guys along with me. The plan is I'm going to take the tractor back, go down toward the shooting house. I got some trees that I got to push over and get out of the way. We're going to find somewhere down there to set and do a couple of articles. I don't have many, but I want to get them done. So bear with me. Let me get on the tractor. I'm going to have the camera mounted right here on this. It'll be hanging over the tire a little bit, but maybe you guys, your view is going to be something like this. Not exactly sure, just until we get back there. So give me just a minute, and we're going to make this happen. All right, guys. Also, I didn't mention, but I do not have the microphone. I'm using the existing camera mics, the ones that are on the camera now. So once we get back here and get set up, I will use the better mic so that you guys can hear the articles. And I've got trees inside of my cup. Tree bark and dirt. No water. That'll be alright. Alright, we're going to head back there. All right, guys, I'd got the tractor back between the pines. I thought I could turn and go down this row right here, but when they thin the pines out, they're planted in rows, and they'll take one row of pines, they'll leave two. They'll take one and leave two. Sometimes the row they take, they'll only take them to a certain point, in which they stop. They start again right here, where I'm at. They took a row, and it goes back probably 80 yards, 90 yards. That's where I come in at. And I drove down. I thought I could keep going, but I can't. There's pines that big, and they're alive. There's a row here. There's a row that comes right in front of the tractor. I pulled down here, and then I backed, trying to do like a 5-point turn to get turned around. But it's really pretty here. I just, as soon as I got in a position, I looked around me. It's really pretty. I could really film any direction, and it's beautiful. But as soon as I shut the tractor down and I got off, started getting the camera ready to go, I've got movement behind me, and it never fails. And it's going to take me a minute to get. I've got to get turned. Got to get the front of the tractor turned that way, which means I'm going to have to go between that pine and that one and kind of back up, and just it's going to be a little bit of an aggravation. I'll have to lift the bucket up as high as I can lift it and roll it up so that I got a little more space. Anyway, I think I got the camera set up to where you guys can see behind me on both sides. The sound I'm hearing is coming from right back here. And it sounds like an animal is all it doesn't sound like bipedal footsteps or anything like that. It just sounds like an animal moving around and pushing leaves like a pig will do. So we're going to do these articles. Brother Don is sending them in these clear plastic things. I thought one of these. Okay, this one here has pictures with it. I didn't want to bring the notebook because I've got all of our lease paperwork in it for the new members that are joining the lease. We've got 2 vacancies on it right now, I think, or one. I don't remember. It's 1 or 2 vacancies. Chris just tells me that when somebody's needing to look at it, and I'll go meet him out there and get him to sign the papers. Sorry about the creaking. That's my chair. I don't know if that was an airplane or a growl. Just say it's an airplane. I'm not hearing the plane at all, but it never fails every time I go in the woods. Alright guys, we're going to do some of these articles. I don't want this video to be really long. I'm going to get out of here. I've not had our Resurrection Day dinner yet. It's ready. I just got to get finished so I can go home. Alright, this is titled, A Retired Game Trapper's Near-Death Encounter with a Florida Skunk Ape. The years is the mid-1980s to the mid-2000s. The location is Southwest Florida, and the source for information for this article is a mid-2000s interview with Dan Jackson, a former nuisance alligator trapper, former skunk ape researcher, and a professional venomous snake handler. The preface reads, in the mid-1980s, Dan Jackson was on a mission to prove the existence of the Florida skunk ape. He is not afraid of any creature, but recent experiences caused him to give up all research on the skunk ape, and it has limited his enjoyment of the outdoors. The following is his deadly encounter story. First encounter, November 1983. As I got about 100 yards away from this one bayhead, I noticed this dark object right at the edge of the bayhead, and I couldn't tell what it was. I first thought in my mind that it was a bear. I crept closer and got within 25 to 30 yards away, and I raised up to fire. This thing had been bending over at the time, and it stood up, turned at the waist, and looked at me for what I can guess was about 5 to 10 seconds. Then it turned and walked into this bay. I knew my brain was telling my feet to run, but there's nothing I could do about it. I saw where this thing's head was in the branches, hanging down, and I got closer, and that's when the smell hit me, when I was about 10 to 15 feet away from the area where it was standing in, and it was a terrible smell. I looked at the tree limbs and estimated the beast to be about 6.5 feet tall. There was sawgrass there matted down, but I could not see tracks. That was the first encounter in November of 1983. Before this encounter, if anyone would have asked me if I believed in Bigfoot, or whatever you want to call this thing, I would have said that's only in Hollywood movies, and it couldn't exist for real. But I know better now. And that's what started me on this journey, you could say. I'm still trying to picture what this thing looked like. It walked on 2 legs, swung its arms like a human being would swing its arms, only in a greater bulk. It had very dark hair. I couldn't tell any facial features or eye color because of the distance and shadows. Its face looked black, and the head looked conical or pointed. I didn't see one of these creatures again for almost 20 years. This is when I first started my research, and I probably looked like a comedy team out there. I had no idea what I was doing or how to go about it. As I got time and went down there to try and find this creature again, I started reading, researching, honing my skills, talking to people, making friends with park rangers, game wardens, and sheriff deputies in different areas. Anyone who may be out and about and see something they don't know or understand what they are looking at, such as a garbage can being raided in Dunedin, Florida, for example. This was over a period of years. I learned in the latter part of my research, probably 18 or 19 years in, to treat this the same way as I treated the alligators. I'm a retired alligator trapper. When I got a permit to go get a gator and it wasn't there, I ended up wasting my time because an alligator trapper only makes money if he sells the meat and hide. I learned that these alligators are like us. When we get home from work, we might eat at McDonald's that night or a pizza place the next night. He's hitting these different eating places, but he will return to the same place sooner or later. You have to work a game trail. They're just like us. They're going to follow this road and follow it consistently. All types of animals are going to follow these trails. It can be hard to find a game trail. It may be right there in front of you, like a dirt path, which were mostly started by scrub cows, which are wild cows who never seen a human and born in the wild. They are dangerous creatures and walk the same trails all the time. The animals will walk these trails instead of going through heavy brush. It's that caterpillar laying in my mouth, a little tiny caterpillar. Sorry guys, I got caterpillars all over the tractor. And termites. I'm sorry. That was nasty. Alright, the second encounter. Over a period of 90 days and working nights on this game trail, I started finding more and more animal tracks. I knew they were going to try and find a source of water, so I would try to find where this trail crossed an area that came close to water. I'm not sure if that was a knock or not. That was loud. Let me start that sentence over. I knew they were going to try and find a water source, so I would try to find where this trail crossed an area that came close to water. This one game trail I came up to and ended in the rear of a new strip mall. Behind this strip mall was a retention pond, and they had to dig, and there were 6 green dumpsters. I looked in them, and they had just been unloaded, so I went back around the front of this strip mall and saw 3 places where they sold food. so I knew they would be dumping food scraps in at least one or two of the dumpsters. I started staking out the dumpsters at night to see what was coming to these dumpsters to feed. At night, the type of security lights back there were energy saver lights. They didn't give out a bright light, but a low yellowish glow. If there was any type of mist or fog with these lights, it was very eerie. I knew I had to get closer to these dumpsters, and I remembered 4 tricks we used to use in the Marine Corps in Vietnam. The dumpsters were all steel except for the lids, which were heavy plastic. I would mount empty soda drink cans under the lid of the dumpster with glass and pebbles in the cold drink can, so if anything opened the lid, the can would fall out and hit the concrete, making a noise and alert me. I was armed at the time with a .44 Magnum Smith & Wesson pistol that had been altered in the front to reduce recoil. From the woods, I couldn't see the dumpsters all that well. I had learned from law enforcement there was a difference between trespassing and armed trespassing, and I was armed, so I could have gotten into serious trouble, so that's why I started my stakeout vigil from the wood line. I realized I was going to have to get closer to see better. I got between the last 2 dumpsters of the 6 dumpsters, crouched down and just waited. I heard one of the cans fall. As I raised up, all I could see was a dark figure about 15 feet away, and it took off around the dumpster and ran off into the woods on 2 legs, and in the form of a large human being running very fast. This was the second sighting of one of these creatures. The third and final deadly encounter. I stayed home for about a week and a half or 2 weeks, and then I came back. As things worked out, it was a long night, and I figured it out to be 1 or 2 in the morning. I was hunched down between 2 dumpsters on the end. If you're young, you can do it. Stay hunched down for long periods, but I was getting older than when I had started this thing 20 years earlier. I was a lot fatter, and it was killing my legs to stay hunched down. And then I heard one of the alarm cans hit the ground. I put my hands on the edge of the dumpster and raised up to look, and was staring directly at this creature from about 12 to 13 feet away. He was inside the dumpster with both hands on the edge of the dumpster. While he was making a very loud huffing sound, he had a look of rage in his eyes. I was so scared. The only thing I knew to do was draw my pistol to fire. I felt my life was being threatened, and I had to defend myself. I pointed my pistol just as he started raising himself out of the dumpster, and I fired. He continued coming towards me until I raised my pistol up again to fire. That's when he ran between 2 dumpsters and was gone in a flash. He was coming so fast, I don't think I would have had time to fire a second shot, as he would have been on me. He was very fast. I retired from the business over this 3rd incident because I realized that what I had been doing out there all these years was stupid. Being alone that night, I didn't realize just how dangerous one of these creatures can be. That's a frightening encounter. God, can you imagine that? You know, this tractor, I think it's 13 feet from end to end with the implement on the rear. End of the bucket to the end of the implement. That's not far. It's not far at all. You know, I definitely understand the look that they give you, and like they're going to kill you. I've witnessed it, and I tell you, it ruined me. And there's so many of us that have been ruined from the same thing. Are you guys hearing that? Alright, I'm just gonna say that's wind. That sounded like some green foliage getting ripped out of the ground. That's a whistle. I wish these things would leave me alone. I'm not up for all of this. I don't like it. It's not part of what I want in my life. I better enjoy it now. That was something breaking behind me. As I can't see the screen from here, it's too far. That was over my right shoulder. I'm going to do this one. It's not that long either. The pictures are just showing the area. I don't know if I'm going to show the picture. I want to get out of here. I'm sorry, guys, but this ain't for me. I'm not a Bigfoot researcher. I don't like it at all. Got a lot of movement around me, but the wind's blowing, so we'll just say it's the wind. All right. Article number 2. Terrified family protected from a doorknob illiterate Bigfoot. Sound like stuff's moving around me. The year is 1975. The location is Caddo Gap, Arkansas, Montgomery County, near the Caddo River. The source for this information is multiple eyewitnesses: Richard Partain, Joyce Partain, Todd Partain, Todd's older brother, and Joyce's father. The preface reads, "The following terrifying encounter involves the Partain family: Richard the father, Joyce the mother, Todd the youngest son, an older son unnamed, and Joyce's father unnamed." So the older son and Joyce's father, we don't have their names. The interview occurred in the mid-2000s, but the events happened decades earlier in 1975. What can be learned is very interesting in the way of safety within your own home if a cryptid attempts to enter while you are inside. Guys, I'm getting very distracted. It's getting hard to read. I'm sorry. I may have to redo this one. That was a whistle directly in front of me. I can't see that well in front of me. It's thick. The encounter. It says, Richard the father. Every weekend we usually went to Glenwood, Arkansas, and my wife would first clean up her dad's trailer and cook some food for him, and I would ride patrol with him. His trailer was on the side of a mountain above the Caddo River. It was a dark area at night, and that night was very dark. This particular weekend, we went out on patrol and were gone quite a few hours. Alright guys, I'm sorry. I'm going to finish this back at the truck. Okay? Stay with me. It's not going to take long. I got to get turned around. I'm not doing this. I'm getting whistled at over here. I'm getting whistled at in front of me, and I had whistles over here. I ain't doing this. And these are not bird whistles. These are sound like people. Alright guys, give me just a minute. I'm going to get loaded up and we're going to pull out. First whistle, did you hear it that time? That was right back here again. Okay, I'll be right back. Alright guys, sorry. I forgot to turn the camera back on when I took off. Just in case we get something coming. I'm back on the road again. Let me turn this camera around. Maybe you guys can see behind me. glasses up and having a hard time holding them and steering. Ow. All right, there it goes. I'm sorry. Started recording. I wasn't seeing my microphone icon. It's working now. From the shaking of the tractor, it popped out. Hold on, you guys. Got my halogen light is on, and that thing will suck the battery down on the tractor. Okay. I hit it with my bag, evidently. All right. But what I was saying just a minute ago, I apologize for that. I don't know what point the camera shut off. The battery died. I don't know why that is. The battery was fully charged. When I started doing the articles, I was at 81%, I believe, which right now it should be around 55%, and it was completely dead. When I powered it back on, I had 3%. So for some reason the battery drained really quick. But anyhow, I'm going to start over on this article. I am back. I'm sitting on my trailer. Tractor's loaded up, tied down. I'm ready to get out of here. I'm just going to finish this. I'm going to start off with the encounter. All right. It says, Richard the father. Every weekend, we usually went to Glenwood, Arkansas, and my wife would first clean up her dad's trailer and cook some food for him, and I would ride patrol with him. His trailer was on the side of a mountain above the Caddo River. It was a dark area at night, and that night was very dark. This particular weekend, we went out on patrol and were gone quite a few hours. When we got back, my wife and children were very upset. They said that somebody or something had tried to break into the trailer. It says Joyce the mother. I was feeding the kids supper, and my oldest son kept covering his eyes up with his hand. He would look at the door and cover his eyes up again. Now, Todd, the youngest son, says, I can remember my older brother putting his hand up over his eyes. He was always a tough guy and wasn't afraid of anything. My mother asked him what he was doing, and by the sound of his voice, he was about to cry. My mom asked him what was the matter, and he said, something's at the door. Our trailer was the old kind with crank-open louver-type window panels in the front door. I remember the glass panels being obscured glass except for the top glass panel, which had broken out and had been replaced with a clear glass panel, and what had been looking at my older brother was looking through that top clear pane of glass in the door. My mom first tried to tell my brother there was nothing out there and tried to be calm about it. She got up close to the door, and by the expression on her face, she knew she had saw something. I realized at that point there was something going on that I needed to worry about because she was frightened herself. Joyce, the mother, says, when I looked up, all I could see was glowing eyes and a hairy face. I screamed out, "Go away or I'll shoot." but I didn't have a gun. I put up a blanket with clothespins over the door so whatever it was couldn't see in. Apparently, it didn't like the fact that it couldn't see inside anymore. Whatever it was, it went around beating on the outside of the trailer and growling, a low growl, almost like a big cat. Todd, the youngest son, said whatever it was apparently knew to pull the doorknob and push, but it didn't know how to turn the doorknob at the same time to open the door. Had it figured this out, I'm sure it would have come in right with us. None of the doors were locked, but at the back door we could see the shadow of this thing, and then it started beating all around the doorknob as if it didn't know how to properly open a door. Knowing how to turn a knob would have allowed this thing to come in. The father, Richard, says, when I came home later, they said they could hear something hitting on the outside of the trailer and growling. So we went out with flashlights around the trailer and found footprints, and we found holes in the rear porch floor where whatever had been there had stepped holes through the wood boards. In addition to the holes in the porch, there were dents along the top and bottom of the trailer where it had been beating on it. Todd, the youngest son, said, when something like that happens, you try to put it out of your mind that it didn't really happen. You think maybe it was a black bear, but we knew it wasn't a black bear. We left the next morning, and as we left, I saw the bottom tread of the stairs had been stepped through. The footprint I saw looked like a human footprint, but really big and long. I knew what a bear track looks like, and it was not a bear track. In conclusion, this case is very interesting in the fact that apparently some cryptids simply do not know the correct operation of door hardware. They may know doors and windows are used to enter and see into a dwelling, but the operation of doorknobs may be unknown to some of these Bigfoot. Had the Bigfoot known to turn the doorknob while pushing, who knows how bad the outcome may have been for Joyce and her two young sons. It's very possible it could have grabbed one or both of the young boys and disappeared with them. The chances of finding them would have been slim to none. Did the Bigfoot watch the trailer for a while, observing the men leave Joyce and her two sons behind, and saw this as an opportunity to make a move? The setup was perfect for an attack or abduction. The night was very dark, and the creature first set its eyes on one of the sons, and all doors were unlocked. At a time when not locking your doors in the countryside was a common practice. What was there to fear, right? What can be learned is that cryptids are clever, and they can be threatening. They do know what windows and doors are used for, and they do target the youngest and most vulnerable in a family. If you are aware of cryptid activity and live isolated in a woodsy, country, or mountainous setting, it's best to securely lock all doors and windows at night as much as possible to do so. And that's the end of that encounter, guys. My battery is dead again. It's at 20%. That battery was fully charged. It should be at 90% right now. This is the DJI Action 3. You can get well over an hour and a half on one battery. Well over it. And this battery's already dead. It's unbelievable. Guys, I'm going to get out of here. I got creeped out hearing the movement around me, and then the knock on the tree, then all the daggum whistling. I'm not up with that. That is not my cup of tea. Never has been, never will be. The day that I have to go looking for one of these things is going to be heavily armed, and I'm not going to shake its hand. And that's just the way it is. I don't want to see one. I don't want to be near them. I don't want to be anywhere where one of these things are going to come up and visit. That's why when we're getting a house out here, and we are going to be clearing property, they're not going to have anywhere to hide. One step at a time, we'll eventually make it happen. And once we get to that point, we had to back out of the place we're going to buy the home from. There was a lot of shady and crooked stuff they were doing, and we just don't have time for games. We're wanting somebody serious about helping us get a home out here, and we find that person, we're going to be out here. Guys, y'all have a wonderful weekend. God bless each and every one of you. Happy Resurrection Day. I hope this Easter has been the best one that you've ever experienced yet, and I hope the next ones to come are far better than the one you had today. I love you all. God bless you. Be safe and be kind, and I'll definitely see you soon. Take care.